I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. Yeah, I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. You reign on the throne, for you are God and God alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I can sing to you this song. I just want to say that I love you more than anything. Yeah. Say, I lift my hands in total adoration unto you. Come on, say it. You reign on the throne. You reign on the throne. For you are God and God alone. Because of you, my cloudy days are gone. I'm so grateful, Lord. I can sing to you this song. I just want to say that I love you more than anything. Wrap me in your arms. You are my shelter from the storm. When all my friends were gone, you were right there all along. I've never known a love like this before. I just want to say that I love you more than anything. I love you, Jesus. I worship and adore you, yes. Just want to tell you, Lord, I love you more than anything. Oh, say I love you. Lord, I worship and I adore your name. I worship and adore. Just want to tell you. Just want to tell you. Lord, I love you. Love you. Yeah. Say I love you. Lord, we worship and adore your name. Just want to tell you, Lord, Lord, I love. Come on and say it. Come on and say it. Hey. Yeah. Say it again like that. I love you. Oh, come on, you tell it for yourself. I worship and just want to tell you, Lord, Good evening. Good evening and welcome to Girl Talk After Dark. I am your host, Sandy Best Life Jones, and I'm so grateful that you decided to join me tonight. We're going to have a little chat. I'm not going to keep you long, but I just have a few things that I want to share. Unless you've been living under a rock for the past 2 weeks or so, I'm pretty sure you've heard about the tragic, horrific death of Shanquella Robinson. She is a 25-year-old woman who, by all intents and purposes, went on vacation with her friends, and I'm using that term loosely tonight, to Cabo, and never made it home. She didn't make it home alive. And this story, when I first read about the story, I could not believe that someone that young could be here today and gone tomorrow so quickly and so horrifically. When I say horrific, I'm talking about the video footage that I did see of a beating, that an assault really, on Shanquella. I said I wasn't going to watch the video, but as the day went on, I started reading the posts of some of my friends and my family members, and a lot of my millennial friends and family members were deeply disturbed by this story, and they were making that known on social media, and I was reading their posts. And I said, okay, I need to let me just go see what happened. I don't have a full clear picture of what happened. And so I went online and started doing some research and looking around for myself to see if I could piece together what we know so far as what happened. And then I watched the video of her being assaulted by one of the other young women who was on the trip with her. And it broke my heart. I'm looking at this video, and I'm looking at it through the eyes of myself as a woman, as a wife, a former wife, and a mother, and a grandmother of 2 little girls. And the reason why, I think one of the reasons why I connected with it so deeply and it really hurt me, is because I remember my former husband and I, being young parents, raising our children, trying to instill in them, to be careful about who they hang around with, who they call friend, and who they allow in their circle. Trying to teach them to really pay attention to what people do and not so much what they say. But it's really more about what people do that you need to be paying attention to. It's the patterns of behavior that people display. That should keep your attention more than what they're talking about or what they're saying. And we taught our children that. And so I thought about it as someone who now has adult children that are a little bit older than Shanquella, but in that age range. And my first thought after watching that video was her mother. My mind instantly went to her mother. And I thought to myself, as a mother, how do you absorb this kind of visual information when one of the people in the video is your child? How do you absorb that? What do you do with that? And so I just stopped what I was doing. I was at work. Actually, I was taking my break at work. And when I saw the video, and I just stopped and I just started to pray for her mother. And then I saw an interview that her mother did. And she talked about how she got a phone call from one of the young men that was on the trip with Shanquella. And he was explaining to her that Shanquella didn't feel well. And they felt like she maybe had drank too much. And I think the mother had called to try to speak with Shanquella. I'm not exactly sure, but she was told over the phone that Shanquella didn't feel well. Shanquella didn't get on the phone. Her male friend said to Shanquella's mother, she's not feeling well. She's laying down right now. So we're just making her comfortable until she starts to feel better. And in the interview, her mother said, the other people who were on the trip, one by one, she started hearing from them about Shanquella's condition. And Mama said, I didn't believe any of them because they all told a different story. So she said, I'm just going to let the police sort it out and figure out what happened to my baby. And I could hear in her voice that she was angry and deeply, deeply saddened. And by this time, they had buried Shanquella. She had been brought home and they had given her a proper burial. But I just thought about, what my response may have been. I don't even know if I would have been able to even speak about it, even to do an interview. I honestly don't know. I don't know. And I hope I never have to know. But I was watching her mother and I was listening to her when she was talking, and watching the mother's interview, it messed me up. But then I watched her father do an interview too. And he seemed so lost as to how this could have happened to his child. And as a man, I'm not a man. I can't think like a man. I don't feel things the way men feel them. But it would seem to me that as a father and as a man, he's probably thinking to himself, how could I not have been there to help my baby, to save my baby from this evil fate? How could I not have been there? And then he talked about the autopsy report and the findings from the autopsy and the injuries that she sustained in the assault. And something that he kept saying over and over really, really stuck with me. He said, they didn't even let her put clothes on. She didn't have any clothes on. They beat her and she didn't even have clothes on. So this whole story really, I was messed up for the rest of the day. I was at work, but my mind was somewhere else. Because we see this a lot, lately. Fight videos have become the norm. I'm not sure why. I don't know what that's about. But one thing that I don't want to do is become desensitized to this kind of behavior and seeing this kind of stuff on social media and on the internet. I don't want to become one of those people that says, oh, that's just some people fighting and the people dragging each other down the street and hitting each other in the head. And, just being like animals. I don't want to become desensitized to that. I don't want that to become the norm in my mind. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to go live and talk about this tonight. But I'm not going to show any videos. I'm not going to show any of the interviews. One of the young men that was there in Kabul with the group of friends did an interview. I'm not going to show that because I think we've probably all seen it ad nauseum by now. And I don't want to add to the sensationalism of the story. What I want to talk about and the angle I want to come from came to me earlier today. Actually, it was early this morning. And then later in the day, I saw a post, a Facebook post by popular social media influencer Nicole Caldwell. She posted something that I have been thinking about early this morning. And then when I saw her post, I said, okay, Lord, this is confirmation that this is the angle that I need to come from with this story. And I want to read what she posted because I think the lessons that we need to learn from Shanquella's story are more important than all the sensational stuff that we're hearing and seeing on social media, because there are lessons that we that are still here alive need to learn from her tragic death. And so that's what I want to talk about tonight. So before we get into the discussion, I want to read what Nicole wrote and then we'll get into it. This is what she said. She posted this on Facebook. She said, I see so many people posting about the young lady who was killed by a person she called friend. With all the different perspectives and the no new friends commentary, I question if people are doing inventory of the people you surround yourself with who may be killing you emotionally, mentally, verbally, keeping you close for what you offer, the takers, the leeches, or who you allow to stay in cycle, or who allow you, to stay in cycles of sabotage and so much more. When you see unhealthy patterns of behavior, it's okay to disengage. It's actually self-preservation. Let's not wait until a physical death happens to recognize the signs were there long before the physical harm showed up. And that is a post, a Facebook post written by social media influencer Nicole Caldwell. Thank you for posting that, Nicole, because you confirmed for me that it's more important for us to get the lesson out of this story than to keep sharing the video and keep the speculation going about what actually happened, because none of us really know what happened. The only people who know what happened are Shanquella, who can't speak for herself, and the other 5 people that were, or 6 people that were in Kabul with her. And it seems to me that they're all saying something different. So we don't know. We don't know what happened. And we won't know until, the FBI is involved now and they're investigating, and they'll get to the bottom of what happened. But more importantly, I want to ask a question to you. And it's, along the lines of what Nicole Caldwell said. What matters more to you? The quantity of friends you have, or the quality of the character of the friends that you have? Which one matters more to you? I think in the age of social media and the way our culture is fascinated with likes and comments and shares, sometimes I think people care more about how many friends they have as opposed to what kind of friends they have. And I was watching a live that Larry Reed did. He's another one of my favorite bloggers and social media influencers. And he said he doesn't have any friends. He has people in his life that he's put into three categories. They're either family, they're fans, or they're enemies. He doesn't have any friends. And he said family does not mean they're related by blood. It's not about DNA. It's about people who have shown themselves to be trustworthy and loyal over and over and over. There's a pattern of trustworthiness. There's a pattern of loyalty. Once you have displayed that for Larry Reed, you then become family, whether you're related by blood or not. And then there's the fan category. Those are people that enjoy the work that he does online, and they enjoy watching him. They enjoy his commentary. You know, they're fans of his show, and they follow him on social media, and maybe they're patrons of his, or whatever the case may be. Those are fans. And then the third group is enemies. But Larry Reed was very clear to say, I don't have any friends. So I thought about that. And between Nicole Caldwell's post and Larry Reed's commentary on his live, it really made me have to question, you know, my own circle of so-called friends. I mean, do I really have friends? I had to ask myself that. And if I do, what was the criteria I used before I labeled this person or these people my friends? And so I thought about it, and I came to the conclusion that I have two best friends who are not blood related to me that I view as sisters. Two. And they know who they are. Everybody else outside of my blood family, and I'm not saying that you know, people that are blood related to you have to be your friends. I'm not saying that at all, because I have some relatives that I'm not friends with and don't have any dealings with. But outside of my close family and my two friends that I consider to be sisters to me, everybody else is just people that I know. It could be people that I know on social media. It could be people that I work with. It could be people that I went to school with and that I've known a long time. It could be new people that I've met, you know, over the last 10 years. Those are people that I know, that I have dealings with, and that I communicate with, and have a level of friendship with, but they're not close friends. And then I have associates. You know, we're not really friends, but we might know people. We might have mutual acquaintances, mutual associates, but we're not really friends. And I had never looked at my friend circle and broken it down into categories like that before until now. I never thought to do that. It was just, you know, these are people that I've known since childhood. These are people that I met after I became an adult, and these are people that I've met in the last 10 years. That's kind of how I looked at people. But now, after hearing about Shanquella, and you know, I really believe that she believed she was going on vacation with friends. I think she thought those were her friends. But then it makes me wonder, did she have any idea that these people really didn't like her? It makes me wonder, was her intuition telling her anything before she got on that plane to go to Cabo? And even after she arrived in Cabo, when she got to the villa where they were staying, was her intuition telling her anything, I wonder? Because I know a lot of times we talk ourselves out of really thinking about what we're thinking about because we want to have fun. We want to have a good time, or we don't want to think badly of people. You know, we want to believe that people are who they say they are and who they portray themselves to be. But I just wonder, in the back of her mind, was she thinking something's not right here? There's something a little off here. I wonder. Because the way everything went down, if the friends that she went to Cabo with were able to hide their true intentions, that's a scary thought to me. That's scary to me. That you could really hide the level of, I don't even know what you call it. Thank you for coming into the chat, Latrice. Um, if you could hide that level of evil, that's a scary thought to me. Yeah, that's a scary thought to me. So I just wonder, did Shanquella share anything with anyone about how she was feeling once she got to Cabo or before she got on the plane to go to Cabo? And so I did an evaluation of my own friend circle. And Latrice, tell me in the chat, did this make you have to evaluate your friend circle too? Because I know I did. I started counting on my fingers. I'm like, okay, we got this one and this one and this one. But that one, I don't know. They may not really be a friend. They might just be somebody that I've grown up with. But then I don't know. I had to really like say in my mind, okay, now we're gonna take this one out. She ain't on the list no more. And I even went through my Facebook friends list and I was like, I don't really know you. I don't even know how you got up in here, but you got to go. I deleted some people from my Facebook friends list because Facebook. I use my Facebook for a lot of things. I use it for business, but then I also share things that are going on in my life. I don't tell too much. I only tell what I'm okay with people knowing. But I share pictures of my grandchildren, and so you don't want just anybody on your friends list on social media. So I went through my friends list and I ended up deleting some people after I really started to think about what Larry Reed said about these three categories. They're either family, fans, or enemies. And he was very plain about it. I don't know if it's that black and white for me because I'm a friendly kind of person, but I'm even reevaluating that. I'm just like, I don't know. Let me see what Latrice is saying. She said, it's very scary. Now I see what my mom told me. Before this tragic event, I had already cut a lot of people out of my circle. And see, Latrice, it took this event for me to start to evaluate my friend circle. Because I cannot imagine going out of the country with these people that I consider to be my friends. And one of the men they said was her best friend, her bestie. And we toss that term around way too much. It's real loose. We calling everybody our bestie. We calling Facebook friends our bestie. Now I don't get down like that. Some people do. I do not. And it was from what I've heard, allegedly, it was the bestie who recorded the video of the girl assaulting Shanquella. So I'm not sure I don't know. I'm not sure how people define best friend these days. I have two best friends that I consider my sisters, and I call them that. I don't call them, I call them bestie every now and then, but they're my sisters and they know that. They have proven themselves to be trustworthy, loyal, and worthy to be called family by me. But I didn't see anybody on that video who was displaying the attributes of a friend. I didn't get that at all. Let me see what First Lady Charlotte Bowens Jones is saying. She said, friends, fans, or enemies. I wouldn't think I have enemies. I said the same thing. Charlotte, I said the same thing. Like, I don't even know if I have enemies. If I do, they haven't made themselves plain to me. I don't know. I don't even think about that. I don't think about, oh, this person is my enemy or that person is my enemy. That thought never enters my mind. And maybe I'm being naive. I don't know. But I never thought about that until Larry Reed said that. Patrice said, what happened to Shanquella definitely opened my eyes a lot. Yeah, I keep hearing that. I keep hearing that. A lot of people are saying, this is really making me question who I have around me. And it should. Especially if they're in your circle. I mean, have you ever traveled with somebody that's not in your circle, in your close circle of friends? I never have, but people travel all the time with people that they know. But is that common for people to travel with people they consider to be acquaintances or associates or just people that they know? I don't know. It's just I'm real funny about friendship. I don't let anybody and everybody up in my space. So, but I don't know how other people move. So that's I answer that question if you can tell me. Yeah, right, Charlotte. I have acquaintances, but I don't know anyone in my life right now that I would consider to be an enemy. And I don't I'm thinking that's a good thing. I don't know because I don't know. I don't have anybody in my life right now that I consider an enemy. But I really think that Shanquella was under the assumption that these were her friends. And it was somebody's birthday. I don't know whose birthday it was, but I think that was the whole reason why they went to Cabo. It was to celebrate the birthday of one of the friends that was on the trip. And something went terribly wrong. And I don't think we'll ever know the full truth because I don't think the people that were there who are still alive to tell what happened, I don't think they're going to tell the truth about what happened. I don't think we'll ever really know for sure everything that happened. But I just wonder, did she have a feeling something wasn't right before all hell broke loose? I just wonder. And it makes me wonder too, and I want to ask the question of you, when your intuition starts to tell you that something's not right, do you listen? Or do you override your intuition and say, these are my friends. I don't have to be worried about my friends. They've never done anything bad to me, so why would I think that they're not who they say they are? Have you ever overwritten your intuition and then it turned out that your intuition was right and you ended up wishing you would have paid attention and you would have listened? Let me see what Charlotte's saying. I've traveled with a few other first ladies. I really knew one. The trip wasn't fun. I saw them differently and will not travel with people I don't really know again. Wow. I'm scared to even ask you what happened. If you want to tell us in the chat, you can. But yeah, that's deep. I don't like to fly anyway. So I'm definitely not flying with people that I'm not well acquainted with. I'm just not. I'm not going anywhere with people that I'm not well acquainted with. And if you're not, my close friend, if I go somewhere on a trip with somebody, I'm gonna have my own room. I'm gonna have my own money. I'm gonna have my own phone. I'm gonna have a way to get in touch with my family and get to safety if I need to. I'm gonna make sure all of that is in place before I go anywhere. And this whole situation kind of makes me sad because it feels like, you just can't trust people. And I know that's the way the world is going. I know I'm not too Pollyanna to know that. But that makes me sad that you can't even trust the people that are that you have around you that you consider to be good people, because they turn out to be something totally different. Latrice said, it's really sad when someone you think is your friend turns on you. I can't, she said, you can't wait to tell your story. Yeah, I can't wait to hear your story, because you've been alluding to it on Facebook for a few weeks now. And I think that you have something to say, and I want to hear what you have to say. I think you have a book in you that needs to come out. I really do. Latrice says she used to be a people pleaser. That was me too. Yeah, that was me too. I had the need to please disease. I wanted everybody to like me. That's when I valued quantity over quality when it came to friendships. I had that need to please disease. I wanted to be in the in crowd. I wanted to know all the tea. Yeah, that was me back in the day when I was young and, just didn't know any better. And I didn't even know that these people who were in the so-called in crowd, they didn't like me. I had no idea. I found out later, but it was a lesson that I learned. And since then, I'm very picky about who I call a friend and what friends that I allow into my circle, because there are some people that I consider friends that are not in my circle. There's only about 5 people in my circle, maybe 6. So everybody ain't in my circle, but I still might consider you to be a friend. So, this this story is making me like have to really pay attention to who I have around me. Let me see what Latrice said. Yeah, and then when I took these last 2 years to find myself and love myself, I do not allow anyone to run over me or use me anymore. Yeah, I went through that same transformation, Latrice, over the last 2 years. I went through my season of isolation over the last 2 years, and it wasn't just because of COVID. It was because of some other things that were going on in my life, and I just needed to keep to myself, and I did for the most part. I went to work and I went to church, and that was about it. I wasn't really doing a lot of any socializing, really. I won't even say a lot. I wasn't really doing any socializing because I knew that there were some things coming on the horizon that I needed to prepare for. And in order to do that, I had to clean house when it came to the people that I was associating myself with and what I was allowing to go on in my life. That stuff had to change. And in order to do it, I had to go into isolation. And I'm just now coming out of that season and preparing myself to move into some other things that God has for me. But there's some people that can't go with me, and they're not going with me. And there were some really tough decisions that I had to make. But again, it's quality over quantity for me when it comes to friendship, when it comes to relationships. It's quality over quantity. I can have 2, and I do have 2 close best friends, and that is it. And they are enough. And it's not because we talk every day. We don't see each other all the time. One of them doesn't even live in the state. She lives in a different state. But I just know that they have a heart for me. And I have a heart for them. And I can trust them. And they can trust me. And they're going to tell me the truth. Even if it's not what I want to hear. They're going to tell me the truth. And I do the same for them. And that's why there's only 2. And that's enough. Let me see what Charlotte's saying. Those black guys didn't cover her. They didn't stop the fight. They recommended her. Are we truly covered as black women? I thought about that too. I thought about the young men that were on the trip. One says he wasn't there when the fight happened, but the other 2 were there, and one was videotaping. And one of them actually asked her, Shanquella, why don't you fight back? And she said, no. And I just wonder, why didn't he stop the fight when she said, no, I'm not going to fight back? Why was it more important for him to record the fight than to stop the fight? And where does that mindset come from? How did we get here? Where we're so numb to violence that we'd rather record it than try to stop it. And this wasn't some street fight between strangers that this young man didn't know. He was in this room with these people that he came on the trip with, and a fight broke out, and he recorded it instead of saying to them, no, stop this. When do we get to the point where we can't even really differentiate between being a bystander and being a real friend who would not allow these other friends to fight each other? When did being a bystander become more salacious? That's why I don't, and I hate to say, it's just that generation, because I've seen some real old people in their 50s fighting. So I'm not going to blame it on the millennial generation. I'm not going to blame it on the younger generation, period. I don't think it's about that. I think it's about the way society views violence in this day and time. It's not shocking to us. We're not awestruck, some of us, with when violence happens like we used to be. It used to be so, we would see things happen and just be like, oh my God. But now it's like, oh yeah, they just fighting. It's like violence is just the norm now. And that's a scary proposition to me. When I think about the world that my grandchildren are living in and growing up in, it's nothing like when I was raising my children. And I just fear that it's going to get worse. And we know that God is in control of everything, but people have free will. And evil is dwelling right next to good. Now, that part I'm not naive about. Evil is dwelling on the earth, just like the goodness of God is dwelling on the earth. And so what do we do to keep from perpetuating the violence and the evil? How do we use our little corner of the world, this platform that God has given us, whatever it might be, to cultivate peace where we are? What can we do? I don't know. I don't know. Charlotte said, so the women beat her for whatever reason, and the men stood around, recorded it, and allowed it to happen. I don't know why that keeps standing out for me. That stands out for me too. That stands out for me too. It was the men in the room who didn't see the need to stop the fight. They watched. And there were there was another woman. I think there were two other women in the room as well. But those men, they could have stopped it in an instant. They could have got together and grabbed one girl, grabbed Shanquella, pulled them apart, go to your separate rooms, whatever you need to do. But they didn't do that. And I would really like to know why. And I may never know why, but I would like to know why. Because that bothered me. Just like you, Charlotte, that bothered me a lot. And I would like to think that my 31-year-old son would not been the kind of man who stood by and watched this young woman being assaulted. I don't believe my son would be that man. I really don't. I don't believe that's the man that I've raised. my former husband and I think he would have done something to stop it. But for those men who wouldn't have, what? What were you thinking? Why was it more important to record it than to stop it? I really would like to know. Charlotte said, men are our covering, our protector. They are out of order. Out of order, out of line, out, all the outs. Yeah, I agree. And so where does God fit in all of this? What can we do as believers in our churches with our young people or with our people that just have anger problems? Or how do we change the minds and the hearts of people? Because if we don't, this is going to get really bad. This was bad enough, but I just see things getting worse. And it just saddens me. It really saddens me. And I worry about the future of my own grandchildren and the children their age, growing up like they are and having young parents and, not every young parent, but sometimes it's the parenting that is just not what it should be. And, you can't get parenting skills from reality TV. It's just not. First of all, it ain't even real. Second of all, no. Reality TV should not be raising your children. So I'm just at a loss. I'm at a loss as a mother and as someone who, really cares about the younger generation and what's happening in that generation and what the road looks like that they're traveling on. It just really hurts my soul to see that. So this story, this situation really gave me pause. And it made me have to take inventory of the people around me that I consider to be my friends. And I had to make some cuts. I had to really, really call it what it was with a few people. And that's why they're not on my social media anymore. And that's just the way it had to go. So if I didn't learn anything else from Shanquella's story, I learned that it's really important to value quality over quantity when you're talking about friendships. It's the quality of the friend that counts the most. And you should be able to have a conversation with a friend in your life who, really matters to you and means something to you, but there's just some things that are off and you've been putting off having the conversation because it's uncomfortable. And you're going to have to tell the truth. So you just haven't had the conversation. Well, now's the time to have that conversation with that friend. And whatever the issue might be, now's the time to confront that issue. Because it's time out for having people around you that you can't trust. Or have shown themselves to be untrustworthy. I'm talking about patterns of behavior with people. And their pattern of behavior is, I cannot be trusted. And yet you still have these people in your friend circle. That's a whole problem. And it's something that you're going to have to confront. If you haven't done it already, you really need to. You're going to have to. Because God forbid this kind of thing happen to anybody else. 25 years old. That's another thing her father kept saying. We'll never see her grandchildren. Her life is over. Her dad said, I'll never be able to walk her down the aisle because she's gone forever. And that man cried real tears on national TV for his baby. No father should ever have to go through that. But if we don't get a hold of this generation that sees violence as an everyday occurrence, that's just no big deal. It just is what it is. If we don't find a way to reach them, what then? What happens then? So, I always take things back to church, and, my church and your church is part of the community. And so we have a responsibility to try to nurture and cultivate relationships with young people, to try to steer them in a different direction. We have a responsibility to do that as believers, as the older generation. That's the way I see it. So what that looks like, I don't know. Thank you, Charlotte, for joining us. Thank you. God bless. I don't know what that looks like, but maybe you can give me some ideas on what we can do to try and give God to the people. That's really what it's about. We got to give God to the people. Otherwise, they're just going to be lost forever. And what is it? What do I mean by give God? I mean, God is hope. God is love. God is grace. God is mercy. There's something missing inside the heart of a person who can watch another person being assaulted and it not affect them in a way that makes them want to do something to stop the attack, the assault. There's something missing on the inside. And I believe it's hope. I believe it's compassion. But how do we combat that? I don't know. So leave me your ideas in the comments. Let me know what you think. And let me know if the Shanquella Robinson story affected you as deeply as it affected me, because it really did. It reminded me of when my daughter left to attend college in Atlanta. And, she was on the other side of the country away from us. And I don't know if I've ever prayed that hard in my life while she was gone. I mean, I literally made myself sick sometimes worrying about my daughter and, if she was okay. And we talked every day, multiple times a day. But I was so, all I can say, I just thank God over and over and over when she came home. When she came home from school, I was so thankful. Because I wasn't there and I knew that I couldn't protect her if something happened. And that is the worst nightmare for most parents, that you're not there to protect your child if something happens. And yes, I know God says, he hasn't given us the spirit of fear. I know the word of God says that. I know that. But I'm human. I'm not Jesus. And I was really afraid that something might happen to my baby. And by the grace of God, she came home and she's okay. So, and that was years ago. But all of those memories came back to me as I was reading about Shanquella Robinson. And it just really hurt my heart. This story really just breaks my heart. So I want to thank you all for joining me tonight. I really appreciate the conversation. If you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Facebook, leave me a comment and let me know how this story impacted you. And if it made you rethink your own friend circle and reevaluate some of the friendships that you have in your life, or even some of the acquaintances that you have in your life. Have you had to take inventory of who you allow to be in your orbit? Like I have. I had to do that. And, leave me a comment and let me know. And thank you for joining me tonight for Girl Talk After Dark. I really, really appreciate you. I do. Next month is HIV/AIDS Awareness Month, December. Thank you, Latrice. I appreciate you. Thank you. Please share. Please share this for me. Next month, December, is HIV/AIDS Awareness Month, and December 1st is World AIDS Day. And so Girl Talk Sunday with Sandy is going to focus on HIV/AIDS awareness and prevention. That's what we're going to be talking about next month on Girl Talk Sunday with Sandy. We're not going to be on the fourth Sunday like we normally are, because that is the day after Christmas. So more than likely the show will air live the Sunday before Christmas. Maybe sooner. It just depends on the best day for my guest. So stay tuned for that. And thank you for joining me tonight. This is the second episode of Girl Talk After Dark, and I'm looking forward to many, many, many more. And I would just admonish you, everybody who's watching, to say a prayer for the Robinson family. They really need our prayers right now. I'm so thankful that the FBI is involved. I really am, because they're going to get to the bottom of what really happened to Shanquella. And hopefully justice will be served swiftly, as it needs to be, because her death there was just no reason for that. There was no reason for that. All right, everybody. I said I wanted to be here an hour, and it's almost an hour. It's 1 more minute. So I did it. Yes, I kept my timeline. Thank you so much for coming to share with me and to be with me for tonight's discussion. I love you all. I pray that you have a blessed night and a blessed Thanksgiving coming up next week. Just go be with the people you love. Go be with the people you love. It don't matter what you're eating. Well, for some people it matters what you're eating, but just go be with the people you love. That's what the holiday season is all about. I'll see you next month on Girl Talk Sunday with Sandy. God bless you. Good night.